let's talk about how to create a helmet like this. It's very, very important that you get the +2 to level socket AoE gems, because um, in this helmet we are going to put the auras, and they get a huge boost from levels. Now let's just show you how to actually start this craft. We are not going to start with any fracture, so this is going to be a much more difficult craft. Although you can start with a fracture and you'd create the best of the best helmets, but the problem with starting with a fracture is you are going to either run the labyrinth yourself to get the desired enchant, or you would have to pay a guy from TFT. Uh, you would have to give him some divines to run labyrinth for you and give you the enchant on your item. But you'd never know if he goes away uh, with your helmet. So to make the best of the best helmet, what you would do, uh, if you care about this armor right here, the base armor 300 and something, you would go for a pig faced bastionet. If you don't care about the armor, or you want the energy shield that comes with the dex int base, you would go for the other. I'm not sure even how is it, what his name is. um, but there's another helmet, like let's check real quick. It's called um, this Dayseed Mask. So Dayseed Mask would be um, the other way to go. Um, but this is actually going to be very expensive to craft it in this way. But nevertheless, I will show you how to do it. So what you would do, you would buy a Dayseed Mask or a big faced Bassinet with a fracture of maximum life. Let's see how high it goes, because I'm not sure. So the base one goes up to 99, and the essence goes up to 106. So here's how you do it. You go to the trade site. Let's just say that we buy pig-faced bassinet. Uh, you would go to the base percentile would be 100, and in terms of item level, it depends on how much suppression you need. Um, you can select 85 because you are creating the base for yourself. You're not buying the base, but if you are buying the base, this is how you would do it. Obviously, it has to not have any influence on it. You would buy this base. Let's just say we would buy this base. We would go to the emulator. So let's go back to the strength text. Uh, Pig-faced bastionet gives the most armor, as you can see. Um, let's assume that it has the perfect base percentile. Um, at this point, we would just make it rare, and we would go to essences and spam essence of greed. As you can see, this essence of greed goes up to 106. You spam essence of greed until you hit 106, and there are only 4 modifiers. If there are more than 4 modifiers, you would use an orb of annulment, hoping that it doesn't remove your maximum life. Then you would go use a fracturing orb. After fracturing maximum life on a base like this, you would go to TFT, and there are lab runners, and they will charge you like 4, 5, 6, 10 divines for an enchant, and you'd say, hey, put an enchant that gives malevolence, reservation efficiency of 30%, or determination, or grace, depending on what you want. If you go with grace, you go for the other helmet. However, what I forgot to mention in this video is if you are going for strength dex bases or dex int bases, if you go for suppression like this, and let's assume that we are using essence of loathing, it takes 1 in 91 tries to hit a good tire. But if you go for a dex base, it takes only 44 tries, so it's much easier to craft. Anyway, after you decide whether or not you want this armor or not, you you have this base and you give it to that guy that runs labyrinth, and he will put the enchant for you. Um, After putting the enchant for you, you'd go and use perfect fossil. Uh, I'm not seeing perfect like this until you hit 30 quality or whatever you're satisfied with. To be honest, this is just nitpicking. In reality, it doesn't really make, it's not that big of a difference if we go for this type of helmet or you want to go for the best helmet possible. After you have 30 quality, you just spam essence of depends on what you need. Like for example, on my build right here, I didn't actually need the 10%, 9 to 10% mana reservation or efficiency of skills that you get from deafening essence of loading, so I went with I guess was screaming essence of loading, because I really didn't need it. But if you need the 10%, you go for the deafening. If not, you just go for the screaming and you're good to go. And you spam this essence, either tier 4 or tier 1, until you get the desired chance to suppress spell damage. In my case, because I went with Screaming Essence of Loading, I spammed it until I hit a good lightning resistance, which is very difficult to hit, to be honest. If we go right here and let's say that it's a strength text base, um, and we are using Deafening Essence of Loading, and let's just see how much spell suppression do I have. I have 13, so it's tier 1 spell suppression, and I also have resistance like this. Uh, Actually, I don't know, but anyway, it's many tries, hundreds and hundreds of essences to get it like this. But if you need the 10% mana reservation efficiency and tier 1 spell suppression, what you would do, you would spam deafening essence of loading until you get tier 1 spell suppression, and hopefully it gives you a good resistance. If it doesn't give you a good resistance, and you have a shit suffix like in this case, you'd have to use Orb of Annulment in the hopes that it removes it. If it doesn't remove it, you're back to spamming. So this is one of the reasons why it's not advised to craft with Deafening Essence of Loading. But if you have to, this is how you would do it. At this point, you would go and craft on the bench. Suffixes cannot be changed. You cannot use the beast at this point. You would go to use harvest. If you need the chaos, you would use add remove chaos. Don't use the reforge. You have to use the add remove. But if you need an elemental resistance, just go with whichever one is the cheapest, fire, lightning, or cold. Let's just say that you need the chaos one. Right now it gave us a shit resistance. Once again, orb of annulment. Repeat the process. As you can see, it can burn through lots of currency very easy. Um, and let's just say that we want tier 1. We do this until we get tier 1. It's very painful experience. I don't advise you to go for deafening guesses of loading. Uh, do your calculations before, because you may not need to go through all to this extent. But this is how you do it if you want the best of the best. And let's just say that the suppression is tier 1. Uh, like this. At this point, you can go and use the beast that gives you suffixes, cannot be changed. You would use an Aisling Veil. You don't use Reforge, you don't use Veiled Chaos Orb because you need the prefixes. And at this point, you would go and look at the Veiled modifiers. Once again, if they have the same number right here, as you can see, they're all different, but if they have the same number, it means you can just craft one of those crafts and it will block the other ones, so it will increase the chance of you hitting what you want. In this case, no craft has the same number on the right here. There are different numbers, so you would just naturally go and craft the one that has the highest chance of appearing and the biggest weighting. So it's going to be minions. We craft prefixes minions. I guess it's this one. Yes, that's the craft. You would hit unveil. We didn't get the +2 at this point. What you would do, you would go suffixes cannot be changed. Once again, scour. Once again, suffixes cannot be changed. Aisling veil. Repeat the process. Craft the minions. Unveil until you get the +2 AoE. Like this. You get the +2 AoE. At this point, you craft whatever you need. Like for example, you craft armor, you can craft if you want something else, you want energy shield, you want evasion, you want physical damage from hits taken as fire damage, you can craft that. A projectile is useless, you have nothing to do with it. You can craft regenerate life per second if you desire. But this is how you craft the helmet. Once again, it's very expensive. You probably don't need this fracture. You probably don't need um, the uh, the increased mana reservation efficiency to 9 to 10. Uh, it's going to be very expensive if you want to make it perfect. Probably 50, 60, 70 divines more than what you would pay for a helmet like this. And the difference is not that huge. Sure, it's 36 maximum life, but come on, let's be honest, not that big of a difference. In terms of implicits, what I prefer to do is to get my mana reservation efficiency as high as possible. And for the curses, you can choose frostbite, temporal chains, punishment, depends on what you want. If you only care about pinnacle bosses, you can go, let's just say, frostbite. When a pinnacle boss is in your presence, frostbite curse effect, like this, the lowest tier. And then for the Eater of Worlds, you'd pick mana reservation efficiency of skills, and you'd just go, let's just say tier 3 is good enough, but if you want tier 1, you go for tier 1. So this is how you craft this type of helmet. Once again, to go to this extent is not needed because this is good enough. But if you want the best of the best, this is how you make it.